It is pretty common to find yourself working with Git and pushing changes without reviewing or just maybe forgetting that you had comments or some logs and then finding those in a PR and eventually having back and forth with your coworkers, wasting time with things like, hey, can you please remove this log? Little things that can be annoying. But what if we use AI to do review of our code when we commit it? So in this video, I will show you how to create a skill that reviews your code and then using an automation that leverages Git pre-commits, and it uses the skill to make sure that every committed change has been reviewed by an LLM. Claude skills are just files that live inside the .claude/skills directory. So we will have to create our directory there and then create a skill.md file, which is going to include the definition for our skill. Every skill uses front matter, which is this text that is wrapped between 3 dashes, and inside of it we have the name description for the skill. The description is probably the most important part in this file because the incorrect description would not be picked up whenever we want to use the skill. So when you write the description, you need to write when to reach for it and not just what it is. And then below that we have the entire definition for our skill, what it does. In this case, we have a set of steps. Then in the steps, what I'm doing here is basically telling it to run git diff -- cached. So we only look at the files that have been staged and nothing else. And then we have a section in the skill that tells the skill how to report any findings. These can be bugs, risks, leftover debug code. And then for each finding, give me a fix suggestion. To wrap it up, we have a message at the end that tells us if it is safe to commit or if we should fix something. Now we're going to try it out. So save your file and go to your terminal, start Claude. Now when I type /staged, we can see our new skill, including the description that we wrote in the skill.md file. I will add a few changes to this cap.js file. And I will stage the changes. Here I'm using lazy git. Now let's run the skill and see what happens. And right away we can see that the skill is calling git diff as we described in the body of our skill.md file. And now we have our report from the skill. For this case, the skill has determined that the changes that we have staged are safe to commit. I've added a new file, index.js, with an init function, but this init function has a comment inside of it. So I will stage the changes and run the skill again to see what happens. This time it's telling us that we can commit, but there are some minor fixes that we should take care of. Let's make the skill more strict. For any comments, to-dos, or debug prints, let's say that this must be fixed before committing. And because I made a change to the skill, I need to reload my skills or simply just exit Claude and enter again. All right, let's give it a try. And now for the exact same code changes that we have at the beginning, the verdict says hold, fix first. And also is telling us what to fix and in which file. Anyway, at this point, this is just acting as a second pair of eyes, but if we attempt to commit a change via Git in this project, the commit is going to happen anyway, because Git commit is not going to call this skill to verify the changes. So the next thing that we're going to do is enable a way for Git to call a pre-commit hook that actually uses the skill. First, I'm going to update the report, and I wanted to say verdict pass or hold, nothing else. First, we are going to create a .githooks directory in our project. And then I'm going to point the core.hooksPath to this directory. Then in this directory, we create a file named pre-commit. And now I'm going to paste this script I will put it in the description if you want to have it. But basically what it does is if there is nothing staged, it's going to exit. If there is something to review, we print running stage review on your stage changes. And here comes the key line, which is running Claude-P, which is basically running Claude in print mode headless. And we can also pass arguments. For example, we are specifying that the stage review is going to use Sonnet, and we are just letting it read files and use git diff, and nothing else. This is a great way to keep things safe. Finally, we have the decision. We are capturing the output from the skill and printing it. Then we grep for verdict :hold. If there is a match, we show the issues. And additionally, at the end, we have this git commit --no--verify, which will just commit everything without running the pre-commit hook. Let's do chmod or chmod to make the hook executable. I am going to modify the app.js file with some random stuff. Then I am going to stage the changes in app.js. So we can see here, if I do git status, app.js is now staged. Now I will commit the changes, and we should see the pre-commit being invoked. And there it is. It is running the skill silently because we used Claude-P. And then we can see that it prints the findings, and at the very end we have the verdict. In this case is hold, and it is pointing at the function that we added that is returning a 1+1, and it thinks that it might be a test function or something staged by accident. Effectively, our commit was blocked, but if we are in a rush or we want to bypass this, we can use the git commit --no--verify. If I look at my Git history here with lazy git again, we see that our commit has been forced because we used a git commit with no verify as an escape hatch. Something important to note is that by using this strategy to do code reviews, you'll be running an LLM on every commit, which means there is a cost associated with it in terms of time and tokens. So you should experiment with different models and see the trade-offs by yourself. And also, a skill like this can be implemented with Claude Code, Open Code, Pi, any coding agent really. So if you want to see an example for those coding agents or another kind of skill, just let me know in the comments. Thank you for your time and thanks for watching.